Alright folks, welcome back. It has been over a year since I made a video. So I've picked out something pretty simple. You saw the title. We're going to be loading some 7.5 by 55 Swiss for my K31. So if you haven't seen my videos about the 7.5 by 55 Swiss, here it is with a 308 and a 30-06, just to give you an idea of what sort of cartridge we're talking about here. Now if you saw some of my old videos with the K31, you might remember that it shot way high, like 2 feet high at 100 yards. Something like that, I don't know. I don't remember exactly. But the point of today's video is to test out a new front sight blade that I bought. This is supposed to be a 100-yard front sight blade. I bought it from SwissProductsUSA.com. It was about 30 bucks shipped. I'll show you some pictures of the old one and the new one side by side. The new one is a lot taller. I'll post you some numbers here on the screen in case you want to know exactly how much taller. Now the install went easier than I expected. The original front sight blade was staked, but it really wasn't a problem. I was able to punch it right out with a reasonable amount of force, and same thing with the new one. It was a nice tight fit. You know, it took a little bit of work to get it in there, but it really wasn't a big deal. So I did make a few marks on the old one and the new one during that process, but it was nothing that I'm concerned about. I'm sure they make tools and stuff to make the install even easier, but a hammer and a punch was good enough for me. I'm happy with the results. Now you notice that channel in the front is diagonal. That's where the windage adjustment is for this gun. There's no windage adjustment on the rear sight that I know of. So when we shoot it today, might need to do a little bit more hammering to get things where we want it. So the plan for this video is to load up 40 pieces of ammo and just go out and see how close our zero is now at 100 yards. I'm going to shoot 3 different bullet weights just so we can, see where it's hitting all the way across the spectrum. And I've picked the Hornady SSTs because I had the 150 grain, the 165 grain, and the 180 grain in my bullet stockpile. And if one of these shoots pretty good, I'd like to have some ammo for this gun loaded up in case, one day I wanted to go hunting with it or something, just have something ready. And these SSTs seemed like a good choice. Cheap enough to play around with, but they've got that expansion performance if I ever decide to hunt with the gun. For powders, I want to shoot IMR 4350 and IMR 4320. The Hornady manual has got load data for both of these powders with all 3 of these bullets. And the Hornady load data also uses the exact same Norma brass that I'm shooting and the exact same GM 210 Federal primers that I'm going to be using. So, first video back in a whole year, might as well play it safe, load it exactly to the book, try to remember how all of this works. I haven't been shooting, I haven't been loading this year. I'm out of practice. This should be an easy re-entry. Now, I had been planning to make this video over a year ago, and I kind of just didn't want to make it, so I was trying to make it as easy as I possibly could. So the brass has already been fully prepped. It's been resized. It's already been primed with our Federal GM 210 primers. It's ready for powder and bullets. So to be honest, there's not much to do here, which is good. This should be a very easy video to edit. So one question I've got though, is I had made these notes back a year ago, and a couple of the charge weights are higher than the Hornady manual, and some of the overall lengths are a little bit different. So I don't know what I was thinking. So I want to look back through the manual again and verify exactly what we want to do here. So let's look at the manual real quick. Looks like my camera settings were all messed up during that intro. Sorry about that, man. You're going to have to deal with that. Audio might be a little scuffed. Camera setting looking all weird. It's going to be that sort of video. So let's see. Not the 130. 150 grain SST. Let's start with overall length. So 2.875. The 165 is 2.910. And the 180 is 2.900. For some reason I had changed, like for example, this 180, I had written down 2.9, but then I scratched it out and wrote 2.890. And I'm not sure why. Okay, this is the 180. I've got a case here with a big split in the neck. So let's mock this up and see what it looks like at 2.900. Okay, there's 2.899, that's close enough. And it looks like our cantilever is in the perfect spot. Yeah, that looks perfectly good. I don't know what... I'm going to put this in the gun and just make sure that we're not hitting the rifling. I feel like if I found that, I would have made a note about it or something. Okay, I just chambered it a bunch of times. 2.897, that's 2,000 shorter than we read earlier. I'm going to pull the bullet out some. I'm making a bunch of marks on this bullet, but that's from this bullet puller that I'm using to, even though the neck split, this case is a little bit tight, so that's what that's from. That's not from rifling. Okay, right now that's at 3.030. I'm going to chamber it again. Oh, okay, so the rifling pushed the bullet in to about where we were. So we're right on the rifling with this thing, right on the lands. 2.90, that's why. That's why I did it. Yep, apparently in my gun, we're right at the rifling. So good. So we'll go with what I had written down before, 2.890. That gives us, you know, that brings us back off of that rifling about 10 thousandths. That sounds good. Same deal with the 165 grainer. Here it is. Tell you what, I'm just going to go ahead and, okay, it's nice and long. It's at about 3.035. That puts us right about there, which is 2.906. Now the 165 grain in the manual was 2.910 was the recommended overall length. And I had written down 2.900, so a little ways off. Okay, that's good. We'll go with what I had written down. And last up is the 150 grainer. There it is, nice and long, no need to measure it. And that is 2.908. So pretty similar numbers with all three bullets, which is to be expected, right? These are all SSTs. They all have the same ogive shape for the most part, I believe. So with the 150 grainer, they recommended 2.875. So that's 25,000 shorter than this. So we're good. So should we be mad at Hornady and their crappy manual for giving us bad overall lengths? Well, no. Not at all. Their manual's excellent, man. Chill out. If you look at their test rifle, it's an 1896/11. My rifle is a K31, which was a later design. So it's just got a shorter throat, and that's okay. You just got to watch little stuff like that whenever you're, you know, especially when you're loading for milsurp rifles or old stuff in general, I guess. Okay, so charge weights. For the 150 grainers, I had written down 51.8 grains of IMR 4350, so that's right there. Max is 52.8, so that is 1 grain below max. That's good. I want these full velocity, because, you know, if we're testing this zero, I want it to be zeroed at full velocity, something like I might hunt with. So getting up near the red a little bit, but that's okay. And IMR 4320, I had written down 45.4. Let's see, 4320. 45.4. So I'd written down the max. Now, I think I'm going to drop that because I bet what happened, because this was out and it was actually in my Hornady manual. These are the pages from the Sierra manual. And I bet what I did is I looked at their data for 150 grain bullets, which is right here. And 4320 shows a max of 47.6, which is a good bit higher. And their IMR 4350 number is just a little bit higher as well. So maybe that's why I felt safe going ahead and going all the way to Hornady's max, because Sierra's number was so much higher. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to drop it by 1 grain. We're going to shoot 44.4 grains. All right, I'm not going to make you sit through the whole thing here, but I'm going to do the same thing with the other two bullets and see about where I was at. Yep, that's exactly what I did. I'm exactly 1 grain under max on all of these. And if our velocity ends up being super low or something with that 4320, we'll just make note of it and know it for the future. It shouldn't be too low. And dropping those overall lengths by 10 thousandths, I'm not going to worry about the effects of that either too much. So is that it? Are we ready to start weighing powder? Did I put all of the load data on the screen for you? Okay, good. So I'm going to be using a Hornady bullet seating die. I've got a couple different seating stems, a couple different flavors of 30 cal seating stem. We'll see which one seems to fit the bullets the best. Like I mentioned, their ogive should be pretty much the same, so that feels all right. That one not so much. Actually, I think this stem might be the same as the first one I checked. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they are. All right, good. We'll go with that seating stem. Okay, so we're going to use the old RCBS Rebel. Got a Lee number 3 shell holder. Should fit. And this Hornady die. Screw it down until it touches the mouth of the case, right about there. And then back off one turn. Okay, that seems right. And lock her down a little bit. And we should be ready for bullet seating. Okay, that's set up. I wanted to get that set up and ready to go before the powder starts flying, because I'm going to load one powder at a time. And I'm going to need to be very careful not to have a bullet mix up. Putting the 180 grain bullet over top of the 150 grain charge weight would not be good. Would not be good at all. I'm going to start with 4350. Set the 4320 off the bench there real quick. Actually, I haven't used this in a while. I should check. Just want to make sure there's no remnants of old powder in there. Looks good. And nothing in the feed tube. Sometimes I'm lazy when I'm putting these away. And figure, I'll clean it up. I'll make sure everything's clean and good before I use it the next time. Powder contamination is not good. All right, I'm going to drop 50 grains of check weights on here just to make sure the scale's looking good. 50.0, that's perfect. Got dust all over my funnel. It's been a while. All right, 4350. First charge weight 46.5. I don't think I mentioned earlier, I've got 40 pieces of brass, so there's going to be 20 shots with each powder. I think I'm going to do 10 shots with the 165 grain bullet and then 5 shots with the 150 and the 180. A little bit confusing, but that's okay. Go. So the charges are all weighed out. Quick visual inspection just to make sure. This is a nice full case of powder with the IMR 4350. And that 180 grain charge weight, it's like 4 grains less powder, so it's visibly different than the others. So before I move anything, I'm going to go ahead and sit the bullets where they belong. Okay, feeling good about that. I don't know why it's so dark over here at the press. Kind of need to move some of my lights here. Is that better? Get my ammo box ready. I need to make sure and put these in the right rows in the ammo box. It helps to talk myself through it, you know? Mistakes are bad. Now with the cantilever on the bullet here, we should be able to get pretty close before we start splitting any hairs. Okay, hopefully that's not too far. That was probably too far. Dang it. Maybe not. Just about perfect. So that's 2.892. Our goal is 2.890. I'm going to move down 5 more. I am getting a little bit of marking on the bullets from the seating stem. You see a little ring. Doesn't look too bad. It's not catching my fingernail too much. Should probably check that final number. Yeah, 2.888. Went just a little bit too short, which I'm okay with. I would rather err on the short side here, you know, since we're so close to the lands. Not trying to get cute. All right, let's see if the markings on this one are any better. That doesn't want to get started. Sometimes you can feel like it just doesn't want to start going. Something's wrong there. Yeah, that doesn't feel right at all. I wonder if something's jacked up with the seating stem. Let's try the next one real quick. See if it's... Nope, that one went right in. So why isn't that one bullet wanting to go? Still got a little bit of a ring around it. Here's this other one that doesn't want to seat. It just doesn't want to go. So I just popped it out of there with my fingers. Seems fine. Tell you what I'll do. Just hit it with the chamfer tool a little bit. You know what might have happened? This might have been the piece I used whenever I was setting up the die, and I was screwing down the die until it touched the case mouth. It hit the case mouth a little quicker than I thought it was going to. So I was kind of turning a little bit harder than I should have. So maybe the mouth of the case got kind of crimped a little bit. See if we can just power through it. There it went. Overall length looks correct. A little bit more of a thingy. Tell you what, let's try a different stem. It's not exactly precision ammo we're loading today, right? I mean, yeah, this stem is the other one. Like, I think they're the same exact stem. I'll back out the adjuster just a little bit and put one of the rounds I already seated up in there, and then screw it down until it touches. All right, let's see if that does any better. Absolutely perfect. So I guess those stems are a little different. It's 2.890. Going to go down just a couple thousandths to match those others. Should probably measure it. 2.887. Okay, last one of the 180 grain bullets. Looks perfect. I should have done that after the first round, right? The first round got marked up. I should have stopped. I should have fixed the problem. But here I am. Freaking jackwagon. Okay, so moving on to the 165s. Same ogive shape. It should really be more or less the same seating die setting. Grabbed a Sharpie, made a little spot there. This old Hornady adjuster, can't really see the markings very well on it anymore, but all right, so I'm going to back out. Well, we'll back out one turn, which is 50 thousandths. So now we seat this, it should be 50 thousandths too long, hopefully. Actually, we've got a whole different target. These are supposed to be 2.9. 2.900. Yeah, so we're 34 thousandths long. I think that's about right. Oops, accidentally went 5 thousandths too far, but I'm going to roll with it. Like I said, I'd rather be a little extra clearance off those lands isn't going to hurt us. Bullet looks good. 2.897. Okay, and last are the 150 grainers, and these are 25 thousandths shorter, 2.875. So we'll see what this same setting gives us. Should be close. Yeah, it's actually exactly the same, 2.899. So I need to come down 25 thousandths. Right about there. 2.883, close enough. Okay, so I just need to repeat all these steps with IMR 4320. No reason to torture you with that whole process. Should be exactly the same. If anything exciting happens, I'll be certain to turn the camera back on and let you know. Hopefully it'll just end up being boring and repetitive. And if that's the case, I'll just see you guys out on the range. I've got a little bit of tree trouble here on the range. This tree fell during the rain from Hurricane Helene. I should have taken care of it already, but I haven't. When things thaw out, I need to get out here with the chainsaw. The problem is that my target is back there, and there's no good way around it, so just kind of got to climb over. So I've got the shot marker electronic target system set up and an NRA SR1 target. Not much point in a target camera today. I'm not going to be coming down here to change this target face every group, so we'll follow everything on shot marker. Okay, camera's recording, shot marker's running, lab radar chronograph is pointed in the right direction. I want to start out with one of the 165 grainers. That's what we've got the most of. So we'll just see if we're on paper. Don't forget to put in your earplugs. Okay, hearing protection is in. Let's just see what happens here. Okay, looks like we're low on the paper. My velocity reading's messed up because I've got that in pistol mode. I don't know why I've got it in pistol mode, but I do. So I look through the spotting scope and I'm not seeing that shot on the paper. Let's shoot one more. Brass looks good. Nothing weird going on there. Okay, that was right beside the last one. Let me have another look through the spotting scope. Maybe I'm just missing it. So I see a couple of holes just off the paper that I think are our shots. Now the good news though, since we're shooting low now, I could move the back sight up and lock it into that position. But it's just a slider for different distances. And I've got it on the 200 meter line, or at least I think that's what the 2 means. Let's shoot another one. What was our velocity? 2473. That seems reasonable. All right, see where this one goes. A little bit better. Let's move up to the 3 mark. Now I am not at all upset about this. It's a much better situation to be shooting too low than shooting too high, because I can just take a file to the top of this front sight post and just work it down until I get the 0 I'm after. So, you know, it certainly would have been nice if it was just perfect right on, but too tall is much better than too short. Well, we're almost there. Looks like we might be shooting just a smidgen to the left. Actually, before I do anything else, I need to verify those bullet locations and adjust my shot marker if I need to. Yeah, looking at that last shot, it's a little bit closer to the edge of that 8 ring. So I need to go into the calibration and move that down just a little bit. Okay, that looks like that's perfect. Now that error is just from, you know, the way I hung the target. For shot marker to be perfectly precise, you need to perfectly hang the target every time, and that's just not really possible. So a little bit of tweaking is usually necessary. All right, let's move up one more. That is the 400 meter mark, and that should put us pretty close. All right, that's pretty close. think I'm going to go grab my hammer and punch, and we'll try to move the sights a little bit to bring that point of impact to the right just about an inch or two. I always have to stop and think about it for a second. So to move our point of impact to the right, I need to move the front sight post a little bit to the left. Yes. So that means driving it forward just a couple taps. All right, I'll be back with a hammer. So I brought out a little paint marker so I can hopefully keep track of how far I've moved it. Okay, let's see where that puts us. So I've got five more shots of this load. The 165 grainer with the IMR 4350. So we'll just stick with these until we run out or we get sighted in, whichever comes first. Oh baby, right in the X-ring. That's good. Yep, spotting scope verifies it. Tell you what, the 4 that we've got left, might as well put them in the magazine. We'll just shoot them all. All right, that is beautiful. That one shot, number 7, that went a little bit high and to the right, I knew almost immediately I had my sight picture off just a little bit. So it looks like maybe still just a little bit to the left. So a couple more taps on that front sight might not be a bad idea. I'll tell you, today's like the perfect day to be shooting open sights. Got some cloud cover. The sun peeked out there for a minute, but I wasn't getting too much glare. Velocities have been pretty consistent, right? Just over 2,500 feet per second. So I better write that down. I think actually about 25. So let's clear these shots on the target. And let's move to the 180 grain bullets with IMR 4350. See how these do. Now these are the ones where we had the bullet seating die problems, and some of these bullets are a little bit marked up. But like I mentioned in there, like this is not exactly super high precision shooting, right? So hopefully we don't even notice. First velocity 2336, right there at the top of the X-ring. All right, all of them right there in the 10 ring. Looks like a 2.3 inch group. Freaking kiss my butt, brother. That's better than I have any reason to hope for with my crappy eyesight and these crude sights. Like that's about the limits of my shooting ability. So it looks like we picked a really nice bullet lineup. Yeah, all of those velocities were right over 2,300 feet per second. Clear the target real quick. Let's shoot the 150 grainers with H4350. Or I'm sorry, IMR 4350. Have I been saying H4350 this whole time? That would not surprise me because I shoot a lot more H4350 than I do IMR 4350. They're very close, but they're not, they're not the same thing. They're not interchangeable. Totally different things. They're used in the exact same use cases, but they're totally different things. Okay, 150 grain SST with IMR 4350. A little bit low there. I'll probably take a break after these. I'm starting to get my eyes watering a little bit. Fingers are getting numb. Excuses, excuses. Just put them in the X-ring, you ding dong. See, that wasn't so hard. It's like we're at about 2,650 feet per second. That one was 2,660. All right, whether that actually shot a little bit lower or whether that was just my inconsistent sight alignment. Not sure. Still very happy with it. That was a 2.5 inch group. Very good stuff. All right, so I'm gonna rest my eyes for a few minutes, let the gun cool down. I have been shooting kind of fast. It's obviously cold out here, so gun should cool down pretty quickly. And I need to regain feeling in my fingers. Okay, break's over. Time to get back to it. Now, one thing I want to pay attention to with rested eyes here are the next group or two, what our windage looks like. Because the last couple groups we shot, it looked perfect. I'm glad we didn't make any additional adjustments. All right, so let's start with the 180s and work our way lighter. This is IMR 4320. So the velocity was 2310 with IMR 4350. We'll see if this is in that same ballpark. That was 2237, just a little bit off to the right. Now the sun has come out, so I've got to be careful that the glare on the sights doesn't mess up my sight alignment. All right, most of those were right around 2260. I'm just too lazy to look at the actual average. If I get less lazy later, I'll pull the data out of the lab radar and show you guys some real average velocity numbers for these. That was a 2.15 inch group, just a little bit high and to the right. That's just absolutely outstanding. I am very happy with how the gun's shooting today. Tell you what though, the metal butt plate on this gun is starting to hurt. These don't recoil that bad, but over time it eventually gets to you. And I guess for me, that's about 30 rounds. About 30 rounds, I'm like, yeah, that's going to be a bruise, is what that's going to be. Okay, moving on to the 165 grain bullet with IMR 4320. 5 shots in the magazine. That first velocity is 2527. That's exactly the velocity we were seeing with IMR 4350. Brass looks nice. Got 5 more shots of this load. You think I ought to wait until we finish before I talk about that group? 1.94 inches right now, man, that's good stuff. That is really good stuff. All right, 5 more shots. Let's keep it going. That's what I get. Shouldn't have talked about it. Should have just ignored it. All right, not bad. Not bad at all. It's about a 4 inch group. What is it without this one down here? Let's hide it for a second. A little over 3 inches without that one. Not much better. Still pretty good. I like that 0, right? I'm glad we didn't mess with that front side post anymore. I think this is where we need to be. That rear sight on 4 seems to be perfect. Okay, the last 5 shots are the 150 grain Hornady SST with IMR 4320. Our last velocity with this bullet was 2660. So let's see where these are at. Looks like quite a bit lower. That first one's 2501. That one was 2483. Yeah, this is the one, if you recall, where we dropped that charge weight down a grain, and I was a little bit worried about it. Seems like those higher numbers in the Sierra manual probably would have been okay. So I could not be happier with these results. That was a 2.66, Why can't I say that? 2.66 inch group with this one way out here. Let's see what it was without that. Yeah, the other four went into 1.35 inches. Just good stuff, man. Could not be happier. The wind's picked up, so my eyes keep watering. My fingers are already numb again. I'm getting cold, so let's go look at the target real quick, and then we'll get back to the bench. It's looking pretty good. I would say we're sighted in. Feels good. Yeah, these holes down here were the first few shots, so at least we didn't hit the target frame. Then walked them right up. Very happy with this. Let's get inside where it's warm. You know, I can't help but wonder if maybe God himself is a fan of my YouTube channel and orchestrated this perfect video to try and get me back on YouTube, because everything went perfect. Like even the off-screen stuff. Like with it being so cold, I thought I was going to have battery problems. You know, the batteries for this camera, the batteries for my microphone, the shot marker. I expected to fight some technical issues, but there were none. It all was perfect. All of the ammo shot great. I just picked some bullets I had on hand, some popular powders out of the manual, and it all was great. The new front sight blade. It was well made. It's reasonably priced. Fits perfectly. Cured all of my issues. These things don't happen to me. I have problems. I always have problems. I've edited the video up to this point already. No problems with software. So it's been great. This has been a fun video to make. I'm looking forward to making another video. Maybe that one will get all the problems. So I'm not sure yet whether I want to file down that front sight blade. I never gave you guys a close look at this, but yeah, those are the numbers I was looking at, and you know, this slider just goes, and there's a little indent for each one, so you know, it kind of snaps in. It feels pretty secure, so the smart move might just be like, okay, my gun's always on 4, and leave the sight blade alone. But if I change my mind, it would be pretty easy to knock that down some if I wanted to, but I'm not going to get in a rush to do it. So I pulled out the actual average velocities, and here they are for anybody that's curious. They're really low, like they really are. And that's not a big deal, right? I don't need a bunch of velocity for this gun. Even if I did decide to go hunting with it, with open sights like that, I'm not going to be taking shots beyond 100 or 150 yards. So these numbers would be perfectly fine. I don't know the minimum expansion velocity for the SSTs, but you know, everything shot good. I think I would probably go with the 165s. They all shot great, but for some reason I seem to prefer the 165. And those velocities were over 2,500 feet per second. You know, I think the main reason why the velocities are so low and the data is so conservative is because of the older guns. You know, I'm shooting the latest model of these Schmidt-Rubin rifles, and some of the earlier ones, like they've got a note in here, you know, about how the case head in the 1911 is not fully supported, overloads can be extremely dangerous, etc. With the K31, we could go up a couple hundred more feet per second. I had made a note that the GP11 factory ammo for this gun, apparently most people see about 2,560 feet per second with a 174 grain bullet. So we're not even that high with the 165 grain bullet. Maybe one of these days I'll work it up a little bit, but I'm just not sure there's a good reason to. These light loads are easy on brass as well, so keeping things mild is probably the strategy I should stick with. Is there anything left to talk about? I don't think so. It was all good. It was all good news. It was all good results. And I think we've covered all of them. So that's it for today. I guess be on the lookout for another video coming soon. I'll see you then.